It's gonna kick you.
Usually it's 10 seconds before 7.
Tonight, he's in charge.
Loosely speaking.
Very small groups.
I'm gonna go.
Are you gonna go?
I told her if she gets chosen to be in it, I'll go.
Yeah, you have to go to that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Go for the weekend.
I would go, I have the boys.
What weekend?
Actually, no, I haven't been
The
by.
weekend before Thanksgiving.
One of the first days I haven't gone from Epping to
It's a perfect time for it. Yeah, what did you plant?
They're not, they're in development. That along, you see from the road.
Yeah.
An easement area, public space. The whole line of Arvida, the whole,
Leave time to return.
it's the base of our 3 houses.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just gonna look great. That was all part of it.
Judith,
Yeah.
see you
I
again.
didn't know when they'd get around to it.
Yeah.
I didn't plan.
Actually,
They are not mine.
actually, it's the cheapest time to buy trees.
Right, yeah. It was a nice project.
Oh, like, I haven't seen you in forever. Oh, that's okay. I just want to be home. It's 3/4.
It's actually
Steve, you want to see him again now? You can start early if you want.
Everybody,
I
yes?
think everybody,
Everybody's
no,
here?
Mary Ann's not.
Yep.
I was in the first one.
We're all here.
Wait, you're the first one?
Yep.
You're the first one in this room.
Okay, it's 4 minutes of 7,
They wanted to-
and in the absence of Chairman Morgan, who's on vacation, I am left to assume the role of acting chairman. So I would like to open up our meeting, and we'll start with a roll call from my right.
Paul Sanderson, Chester Duraki,
Jim Ralston.
Chip Huzzy.
And we'll start off with a special presentation. As you see, we've got 2 canes here. This is actually the original cane, originally awarded by the Boston Post, an old newspaper back in the day.
It's made out of solid ebony and 14 karat gold on the top.
And this is the presentation cane that's been made for a presentation to our oldest citizen in the town of Greenland. And I'd like to read the certificate here. Whereas in 1909, the publisher of the Boston Post decided to distribute 431 ebony canes to towns in New England as part of a circulation promotion, with a request that they be distributed to the oldest resident in town. Whereas from the beginning, the Post stated that the canes were intended as a tribute to honored and useful lives, to thrift, temperance, and right living, and above all, to the superb vigor of New Englanders. Whereas the town of Greenland desires to honor that tradition and has identified Greenland's known oldest resident based on the most recent inventory forms as being born on November 10th, 1918. Now therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in the Board of Selectmen for the Town of Greenland, we hereby present to Elmer M. Sewell, Dr. Elmer M. Sewell, the Boston Post cane. We hereby declare September 18th, 2017, Elmer M. Sewell Day in the Town of Greenland. And that's given this 18th day of September 2017. Dr. Sewell, with great pride, I present you this cane, and I hope you hold it for many, many years.
Thank you.
And give a forward with some information on some of the past recipients.
Thank you.
You, I believe you went to school or with my mother-in-law, Ruth Brackett.
I did.
Yes,
Indeed.
she mentioned you quite often.
I went to the stone schoolhouse building shortly after it was built, maybe 2 or 3 years. And I remember eating lunch that I brought from home, and then running down the street to Irving Ralston's post office store,
My grandfather.
getting up on a chair, kneeling on the chair seat, and looking into the glass of the showcase and picking out penny candy, and spent my 2 or 3 cents that I brought from home. And if I happened to have brought 4 or 5 cents, I was surrounded by a whole galley of
New friends.
bosom buddies.
Very good. Well, thank you.
And I'd like to add, in 1987, my grandfather Sewell was rumored to be a candidate for the post cane. Unfortunately, he slipped and fell down, broke his hip, and in those days they didn't treat him with pinning the hip. They put him to bed, and he developed pneumonia and died. That was before the invention of antibiotics. Since then, life expectancy has increased through many new advances in healthcare, medical discoveries, of which I've been the beneficiary of.
Very good. Well, we're pleased to have that happen. Glad to have you with us tonight. Thank you. Now you have the boring stuff to do.
Yard sale and sent back to town. It's the whole history of that.
All right. Very nice to have by.
Right, how many generations, right? You're bad.
All right, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from Tuesday, September 5th. Anyone have any corrections or omissions?
Free parking in Greenland here.
All right, I'm open for a motion.
We approve the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So,
Next.
next, we are under old business. Coastal Way seal coating update. Paul,
All right, so far, most of the stuff we got back on it was negative by the people that live on the road. I think the biggest mistake they made, they didn't put enough sand down. Rye was the one doing the sanding for him, the town of Rye. The guy who left and never came back, never told anybody. So they came back about, I want to say 10 days later with a dump truck and did it by hand. And after that, the complaints went away. And as of Friday, they swept the road completely.
Okay, so as we sit here today, what's your own evaluation?
They told me not to be impatient. We shouldn't really see a result for another, really, probably the best results will be in the spring. Because it's working into the pavement, activating it, and rejuvenating it. I'm waiting for the okay for them to say I can go patch it.
yeah, I had a question on that, Paul, because I drove down today and took a look at it. And I noticed there was still quite a few potholes in the making.
They did not want me to patch prior.
Yeah,
They say something, how it activates a pavement that's there, it won't let the two bond.
okay.
So I'm supposed to wait until they give me the okay to just patch it. Which I was kind of surprised. I thought they would want me to patch it first.
Yeah,
This was a test to see if it's a product that we would like to look into further.
Yeah.
Your recommendation?
With all the complaints I had, it was not fun. Is the product gonna work? I'll have to answer that at a future date.
Okay, so.
The people weren't happy.
So it's still a work in process.
Yeah, and one
We
thing
have
that,
complaints of sand getting into their brakes, the mixture itself on cars, trying to get it off, being tracked into houses.
Okay.
Yeah.
it was just not, so the more they drove on it, instead of the sand working in, it was coming up because it's not really an oil, but it was sticky.
Yeah.
So as soon as it touched the car, it stayed. Washes right off. That's a good thing about it. It was no permanent damage. And they do have a gift certificate for the people that complain for the undercarriage washes and stuff like that out of Exeter.
Okay.
So they're working with the people.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the answer is initially bad, but we just don't know fully yet. Okay,
How it was done was not, people weren't happy. The result of what it will do will be at a future date when we see if it works.
okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? All right, next up is Harley rate bids. Paul Hayden has received 3 prices for Harley rates and will be present to explain the quotations and present his recommendation for purchase. The rate has been budgeted in 2017 in the recreation budget for $8,500. The cemetery trustees vote to authorize $2,000 from their budget for the purchase, as the equipment will be used in the cemetery as well. So, they're on, Paul.
All right, now, I was fine tuning these bids. Now, the only thing that's gonna be the two of them that are priced is one from Bobcat and the Kubota Garage in Haverhill. If you notice, that doesn't include the wiring, labor on that, so those will be an additional charge. I don't know why they didn't put it. Those two is not a plug and play like the other one. So I'd have to drop the machine off for a day. They'd have to wire the whole tractor for those machines and have another control in there.
okay.
And so, for some reason, they didn't put that down. They did put, if you look at it, they did put the wiring harness, but not installing it or anything like that. So I really don't have a price on those. On either one of them, they didn't put any labor on it. So, I mean, if you would think anywhere from $300 to $500 on each, on top of each one of those probably would be realistic.
That would still fall under the 8,000. Okay.
On one of them, yes.
Oh, yeah.
The other one, it would put it just probably a hair more than the other one. Now, the Milton Cat is a plug and play. That machine is, of course, because it's a Caterpillar, you just connect to it and all the controls control it. It's all plumbed and wired for that particular piece. And, I mean, that's less electrical, it's set up for it, and that's kind of why I was going that way with simplicity.
What exactly are you gonna do with this machine?
The cemetery roads, can use it up on the dirt part. Every place where we have dirt parking lots, the infields, I can grade them, keep those up. Probably the only field I can't use it on would be Caswell.
For the infields,
For the infields, yes.
$10,000. And how much, in gravel roads?
We got the road that goes up.
How many miles of gravel roads do we have?
You got the parking lot out here, my parking lot. Most of the cemetery is all, except for the center,
What's been doing them in the past?
contracted. Just to have that one road graded this year was $1,400, Karen?
Which road?
For Maloney.
Just a road, yeah, this spring.
Maloneyfield.
No, just a road going out there, yes.
Right. I thought City of Portsmouth took care of that because they were using the well house.
They're going
That's what I was
to,
told.
we had to take, it's our responsibility to maintain. The city of Portsmouth is going to return it to, so we did it before they started their work. They're going to return it to that condition when they finish their work.
A previous town administrator, we found, had agreed in perpetuity that the town would take care of the road to the Greenland well.
Wasn't me.
It was a previous town
Thank
administrator.
you.
Well, wouldn't it be,
No, that was for the construction, that was like a one-time deal, I thought.
No, we end up, we usually, like every other year, have to hire a contractor to come in and grade that because it gets potholed pretty bad.
And also, there are some road shoulders that you could use it on too.
yeah, I mean,
What would you do on road shoulder?
you could grade them out.
Grade them out.
Plow
No.
damage after the winter?
Where? I don't see this machine as something the town needs. I'm sorry, I know it's already in the budget. I just don't see.
What would you do
I
to,
would just tell you have this.
what would you do to,
If I needed this machine, I would rent it for the times you needed it.
okay.
$10,000 is a lot of money.
When we went through this at the budget committee, what we found out is that they really aren't available to rent.
Absolutely.
Actually, we found they weren't.
Okay,
Actually, there's one saying how to try rental right now.
thank you. I've rented
Okay.
them myself in the past.
Well, what we say to that, is that with the Bobcat attached to it, or that would fit on our machine?
With the Bobcat,
And
With a
so,
Bobcat.
and so how much?
I didn't ask.
or less.
Well,
I'm,
I think it's around
I didn't know what this
$10,000
was till I got the package, to be honest with you. I thought it was something that was gonna fit on the four-wheeler, and that's not gonna cost so much, it had its own power source. But I don't see this doing grading as well as a grader will ever do. I see hydraulics as maintenance, and I always have felt when you're dealing with something you're not gonna use, like a construction company might, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, it's better to rent it out. Rent the whole machine, you get it, if it breaks, you send it back.
Well, if it's $1,400 just to do the road out to Maloney Field, is that what you said?
I believe that was a price, and,
Yeah, that's about what it was, yeah.
yeah,
Well, what about the other work, the infields and?
That, I don't see the track machine going on, the problem is you gotta get into the greens.
It's not a track machine, we have.
No, it's on the skid
It's the
steer.
wrong machine to have.
That's
It's
a,
not
that's a
because
track
the bounds
machine, right?
don't
No.
work correctly, it's made to be, I mean, ideal situation's on a track machine.
Because we couldn't go with tracks because nobody makes one narrow enough for the sidewalks.
Okay, so you got a wheel there, but you're still, it's still skidding along, you're
Well,
breaking
it's just-
along and dragging your wheels. to make
Yeah,
it-
most people call them Bobcats, the technical name is skid steer, so you drive it, you know.
I gotta agree, I think we'd be better off to rent it for the amount of times we need it. I can say this year, unless Paul gets a full-time seasonal employee next year, he's gonna have the same problem catching up if we have the same amount of rain as last year. I think it was August when he finally caught up, so that's when he's gonna be using it.
I have to agree that, I mean, you can buy all the equipment you want, but if there's not enough people to run them, they're not worth anything. This looks to me like a machine that ends up on auction that gets sold 50 cents on the dollar in a few years, that's what it looks like to me. Because it's just not gonna be used enough for $10,000 in my opinion.
And the other thing, so people can think about it, is this is the end of the season. We already have a shortfall in the budget for snow removal. We can always put it back in if you guys can justify it again and put it back in, but if it's gonna be purchased, you purchase it in the spring, not wait till the fall.
Okay. To complete this season, how much, is there work that this machine needs to do that would have to be rented this year?
No, actually, no, because the fields are closed right now because of soccer. So I won't touch the infields at all for the rest of the year.
I guess I'd want to consider how much we're gonna spend on rentals as opposed to buying this machine outright. I mean, what's the payback on it? I don't know. I mean, if it's $1,400 for one road, what's the additional cost gonna be to run it to do the other things? So, is it,
Well, it's not gonna do anything other than roads and infields. And, I mean, we don't, this is for prepping soil for seed beds. That's the number one reason that this machine does. It can grade gravel roads. It's not the best machine for it. It's gonna.
You're almost better off with a box
It's
grader,
gonna
because
beat
it's
it.
cheap,
I mean,
but
most landscapers rent them when they need them. That's what happens, because there's so much money. And you just don't use them that often. I mean, I don't think the city of Portsmouth has one. I don't know any municipality that has one. That's the last thing I see this town needs right now. So you got the roads of Coakley, excuse me, Coakley. Maloney Field.
I'm not doing Coakley.
The
I'm sorry.
cemetery, Maloney Field, the cemetery,
Cemetery Road, yep.
and what else?
My parking lot,
Yeah,
parking lot out here, I can keep that level.
that's it? Anything else? No other cemetery roads anywhere?
No, none of the, no,
Tide Mill Road.
no,
Tide Mill Road.
I have,
No.
Oh, actually, we don't touch Tide Mill
I
Road.
was gonna say, I've never done anything on Tide Mill.
It's a class 6.
On that side, right.
No, that's, they take care of that by agreement.
I don't see it, I mean,
All the other cemeteries you can't drive
there's
to.
nothing in there, right?
Yeah.
I don't see the mileage. 1,400's a lot to grade that one road, but I don't see $1,400 for each road we have. I mean, we give them all the roads, you know, the price per linear foot goes down with every foot you add on to it. And if you're only doing it every other year, it's even more, I mean, that proves my point even more, because you don't need that on an infield. Maybe once or twice, maybe once in the spring. That's it. Break it up. I mean, you rent that for $500 for a day, you could go do pretty much all of it. You got it for a couple of days, $1,000 every other year, $2,000.
I'm also looking at the
Done.
maintenance going down.
No maintenance. No $500 for wiring. Put that back in the budget somewhere. Bring it back up again next time. That's all I have to say about that.
anyone else? Anybody have a motion?
This is exactly, it is a different and unique piece of equipment, and this discussion was exactly what we went through at the budget committee 2 or 3 times. It was yes and no. It was not an easy decision for the budget committee. They took it out and then at the last day put it back in.
Were you hearing any yeses? I haven't heard any yeses.
I'm happy to defer to our next meeting when we have a full board.
All right. Any objections to that? I think it might be a tie vote anyway, so. We'll defer until the next meeting. All right, next we have the Coakley update.
Okay, the update that I have this week is that the EPA has now contracted with a technical advisor that will be available to Greenland at no cost to assist us with technical questions, answering aspects of the remediation that we are having. I'm going to meet with Gerardo and Jim Murphy from the EPA Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and they're going to bring this engineer with them. Her name is Kirby. Don't remember her last name, but she will be the technical advisor that EPA has hired as an independent technical person.
But what type of engine?
Environmental. To be able to answer questions in that if we get test results, I can ask her, the town can ask her, what do these mean? Is
So
this
a
good, bad, or
person who
indifferent?
can interpret hydrogeological data?
Yes. And be able to explain, like as they talk about new forms of remediation with this pump and treat, be able to explain what it actually will do and mean.
Okay.
And it's just another resource that's being provided to us at no cost. Trying to decipher the facts as we're hearing them from what may be reported is what is actual. What does this mean? And that's all. But I'm going to meet her on Wednesday with the EPA. So that's all I have at this point for Coakley.
I don't have anything additional
Okay.
because the MTBE group doesn't meet again until October 5th.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, tax deeding.
Hey, Jim, can we go back to old business for one thing?
Sure.
Me and Chester talked yesterday. Paul, maybe you can help us out.
Oh, yeah.
On the ball fields, how you guys voted on, let me put no dogs allowed
Okay.
out here and stuff. What is the town guidelines if we find the same people not paying attention to the sign? He came across one and stuff, it basically saw the sign and still went out there.
Okay, it is a town ordinance that can be enforced by the police department, who can issue a summons and bring them into the circuit court and fine them as a result of a violation of a town ordinance.
All right, we were unsure if
It should be referred to the police department. They have a copy of the town ordinance. They can bring that in as a summons and bring them into circuit court and have them fined in court.
Right, and that would be the animals at large, the animal ordinance.
Yes.
Okay.
Falls under that.
All right, we had a discussion yesterday and we wanted to make sure something was in place for this.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, tax deeding. Map 7 lot 39.
Yes, we did get an update from the tax collector on this. The total amount has not been paid, so it's up to the board whether they want to move forward and accept the deed. But the homeowner was in on Friday and made a substantial payment of $5,000 towards the balance due and has requested an extension to December 1st to clear it.
Okay.
And that this would be the last opportunity that they would have to clear the 2014 taxes. If the board accepts the deed, the statute requires that all back taxes be paid which would be 14, 15, 16, and the first part of 17, although we would be returning $2,000 for what has been paid on 17. And then 10% of the assessed value as a penalty. So
That does not have to be assessed.
it does not have to be, but it may be assessed. So the maximum amount that could turn around and be due would be $77,515.
And that's because the penalty is $48,851.
Right,
We do not have to assess that.
right.
But on the other hand, what we can do is we can reach an agreement with them, okay, indicating, with certain dates, and certainly what we want to do is collect our unpaid taxes and our interest, and also our costs.
Right.
Okay. That in and of itself is going to be virtually $30,000. But certainly we do not have to have the other $48,000.
Correct, and we don't even have to do that whole amount if it's extended, accepting the tax deed till December 1st. And then, because the balance left on 14, what did she show me, is, give me that page, but it's about $3,000 that's remaining for 14.
Mhm.
Well, it would appear that if they came in and put down $5,000, are interested in
Maintaining the property.
maintaining it, so.
But this is up to the board.
But for me, while I think that's an important step, I would like to see that person in person, and I'd like to see a written agreement. Okay, I'm perfectly happy to work with the person, but I don't think that we want to do this through third people about, well, they did show up and make a payment this week.
Right, right, and this is all I received from the tax collector was a note on it that,
Yes, I think that person needs to come in and speak to us directly.
okay,
I am happy to defer the deeding until next meeting, give them the opportunity to do that, so that we can create a written agreement to resolve this matter and move it forward. I'm not interested in taking their house unless it's absolutely necessary. But on the other hand, just saying, oh, it's okay, keep going, is not sufficient either.
Can we have the agreement prepared so that they can look at it and sign it?
Absolutely.
and have the tax collector do that.
Do you want to make that in the form of a motion, Paul?
Yes, what I would like to do, I would like to move that we defer the acceptance of the tax deed to our next meeting, which is, what date is that going to be, Karen?
October 5th? October 2nd.
To October 2nd. On the condition that the taxpayer come and speak to the board directly, with the goal of reaching a written agreement that evening to completely resolve the payment of unpaid taxes.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion?
I think it hits the nail right on the head.
All in favor?
I
Unanimous.
Okay. And would that be in a non-public session?
Because the
Reputation?
because the amount of the taxes are certainly public, but I think we could do it in non-public session because A, it deals with the potential of town real estate, and it may deal with information about their finances which should not be in the public sector.
Right, so the reputation of the person involved?
Yes.
Okay, next up, that visioning session reminder, Thursday, October 5th. The planning board will be hosting a visioning session for the chapter of the master plan dealing with climate change and coastal zone properties that may be subject to sea rise.
Yep. And this is going to be at 7 p.m. at the Hugh Gregg Center in Greenland. Yep, Sandy Point. We have written notices going out to all of the properties that are affected, that are in the pink and red, that are more susceptible to sea rise and flooding. And then we'll advertise it for the whole town if they're interested.
Yeah, this will be primarily led by the folks at the Regional Planning Commission.
Yep, Teresa Walker is taking the lead.
And the idea of it is to determine whether we should propose an overlay district for these areas that controls building in those particular lines.
All right. Other road business? Chip?
I told Karen this is quick. On the video monitoring, I didn't like any of the proposals I've seen. I'd like to see the chiefs, the fire chief and the police chiefs, and chief would be looking at security. I know Ralph wants to look at, see what's going on with personnel. Come up with a plan and a suggestion and pricings to execute.
So, fire chief and police chief.
Fire and police work together, yeah. Because Tara would be more security and what she would need to have here, and Ralph would be more management.
Do we have a ballpark for what that might cost?
No. 'Cause we
About
really-
$10,000 was the original, which was going to, the one that we had the security companies come through.
Okay.
And then when it got scaled back to what the fire chief wanted, and just exterior, one interior and exterior cameras, I think it went down to $4,600.
Okay. As we go through our budget preparation, depending upon what we get back for specs and things, we may want to make a determination as to whether we request it as a warrant article or have
Exactly.
it in our ordinary budget.
That's all, most of us would think about it, but I think that those two would be the best ones to sit down. They're the ones that would need it if something, Tara needed if something happened here, and Ralph, he's just where he's not sitting in the chief's office, need to see what's going on over next door.
So I'd like to hear from them what they think they need so we can help make our determinations how to present.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Next, well, I just got a couple of, next thing is the IT guy. We need to speak to him, we're in the budget process now,
Okay,
stick him in here so we can go over a few things.
okay, invite Todd.
And this, next one's a question more or less. Well, we have problems with budgets every once in a while with snow removal. Would it be worthwhile to do a warrant article for, that would be lapsing, that would be X amount, I just pulled it out of here, $50,000 for snow removal that would run 3 years, so if we did have a budget shortfall, we could take it out of that.
Okay, when we think about our tool, okay, you're talking about putting it into a form of, not really a revolving fund, but a expendable trust is what I'm trying to think of. We've had that.
We do have it, we still have it. We have a capital reserve for snow.
We do have that, so.
That has $50,000 in it.
Okay, I didn't know we had that, so.
Yeah, it was established by town
That was
meeting about
what I call-
5 years ago.
In that range.
Yeah,
To
we
do
have it.
exactly what you're talking about is to get over a particularly heavy winter.
Yep, exactly.
So the tool's already there.
Fireman's almanac, so it's not gonna be bad.
Geese are telling me different. And one last thing, I need, police department to check on Maloney Field. Apparently the gate's being left open, or before the vehicle drove over the field, so.
No
if you want-
damage,
If
just
you want to
going across
remind, the people try to remember to lock the gate, but I think the police are gonna have to start checking that. It's coming to hunting season. We obviously don't want people driving out to go get their deer out of the woods.
Any other old business? Just a reminder, your budget book is in the
Everybody
spot.
has them now.
They all got great. That was exciting reading for me this afternoon. All right, next we're on to new business. Review of town administrator's report, and I believe we don't have.
Right, there was no report this last week and the week before were total budget reviews, budget preparations.
Okay. Next we have 911 public hearing dates.
What we worked with Chief Laurent and the 911 Commission from the state to make sure that the dates would work. So the first session for the next group is been just recently switched, it's going to be Bay Ridge Road. So that's going to be on Monday, October 23rd. It's not a regularly scheduled meeting because the 2 meetings in October have budget reviews. So we can't double up a 911 and a budget review on the same night. You'll all quit if we did that.
What I can tell you is I sent Karen this afternoon an email from the Bay Ridge neighborhood. They met and they have 2 names to propose.
Yeah, and I sent those to Chief Laurent for her to run through 911 to make sure they were okay. The first one, Osprey Cove Road is perfectly fine. Pine Cove Road was not good because we have a pine wood.
Okay. All right. So it would appear that the number 1 choice, which is Osprey Cove, it could be either Osprey Cove because we had a cove, they said that was acceptable. Either Osprey Cove or Osprey Cove Road. And we can ask the neighborhood again. Yeah, Cove is acceptable. The point is that the neighborhood met, the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's
reached
gonna be an
consensus.
easy one.
Okay, well,
Just starting at 7, or are we starting earlier?
You might as well start at 7 if it's not gonna take very long.
And as a matter of fact, you may not need the special meeting because it really is by consent.
Well, unless they change numbers and then we're required to have the special meeting.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's the way the statute is. You can change the name, but you can't change the numbering without the public hearing process.
I would tell you that since you have 2 residents on the board, 2 people who will be abstaining, you have to have all the other 3 here to make a decision.
Right.
And we'll be sitting out there saying, leave my number alone.
okay. Storage unit approval, you're up, Frankie.
Can I ask a question on the matter?
Oh, fire away. Sure.
What had happened to Portsmouth Ave? Is that all stuff?
No.
No.
And if anything further might take place, we would get something that.
Mhm.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll be
That will come back up, and I don't think they've determined which section of Portsmouth Ave gets to keep their name. We already changed ours. This is now Town Square.
Yes. Actually.
Okay, we received an application for a temporary storage unit at 542 Portsmouth Avenue to hold the property of a college student and family furniture. Request is for the unit to remain until summer of 2018. A copy of the ordinance has been provided. Any questions on this? Did you want to address this in any way?
If there are questions, I'm happy to answer. That's why I'm here.
Can you give us a month?
Not really. Graduation examinations in May. Zach, maybe longer. Right now he's in fall semester in Barcelona, so all of his stuff sitting in that unit. And family member has moved out of a 3-bedroom condo, and I'm just inundated a bit, but I do see resolution coming next summer. So all of that, one way or another. So
Like, we can put a date on this, always come back for an extension, I
I
guess.
appreciate that. Why don't we say the August 31st?
I was gonna say basically August 31st.
Yeah, because it's a maximum of 1 year.
Would you like to make a motion?
I move to authorize the temporary storage unit to remain at 542 Portsmouth Ave until August 31st, 2018.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Good. All right, next we have the health officer reappointment.
Martha Wassell's been serving as the town's health officer for the past 30 years. She has requested to continue in the role, and this is her registration with the state of New Hampshire. She currently represents the town on the Pediatric Cancer Cluster Task Force, and has been working very hard on the Coakley matter with health information. Earlier last year, she held a session at the elementary school on the different arboviral diseases from mosquitoes. She's been very active as a health officer. And she has her master's in infection control, something. That's her career.
Does she have let's see how to word it. Does she go and check the restaurants and such in town?
Only if there's,
periodic?
not periodically, that's in, Greenland is handled by the state. She has to go in and check them, which she does with the fire chief or fire inspector after any kind of fire or power outage. She has to check the temperatures. But the state does the inspections of restaurants in Greenland.
When have they been here to do that? Do we get a report?
We only get a report if someplace fails.
How do we know that they went there to look at it?
We don't.
No. No?
I haven't gotten any reports in a long time. When
Actually, they do get a
Subway,
certificate.
I was gonna say,
right, they might have one that's hanging up in there.
Okay.
When Subway used to be a former Italian restaurant, we got reports in there of different inspections failing. And I think maybe a year or so ago, we got one at the former Mizuna. And that was over a year ago. So they just send us when they don't pass.
All right. All right, we've heard about Martha. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll move to reappoint Martha Wassel as health officer of the town of Greenland.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Recreation field advertising. The Recreation Committee is currently exploring the possibility of securing advertising to be displayed on the fences at recreation fields in an effort to raise funds for programs and field maintenance. There are two questions for the board to consider. Does the board want to authorize the advertising? And if so, can the funds be placed into the recreation revolving fund as a charge associated with programs? The warrant article establishing the special revenue fund has been provided.
The way the article is written, it's not really clear. It talks about that it can be done for fees, programming expenses, and facilities, charges for recreation park services and facilities. So whether or not, basically, if they rent the field, it goes into the special revenue fund. If they rent space on the field to hang a sign, as far as advertising, will that count as a field facility charge? It's hard to know. But I don't believe the Recreation Commission wants to move forward with this if the funds are not going to go into the revolving fund.
Correct. Do you have any information, Paul, or?
I do. I have strong opinions. Okay? I'll let other people speak first, and then I'll tell you everything.
Anybody else have anything from the rec committee? Jen?
Well, we're just trying to make sure that if they do the work, they're gonna get the benefit of it to go back into their fund. The way I read it, that's what it says, that fee charge private facilities, that's part of the facility. So I would think it would, the way this is written.
I'd like
I
to
think
say,
that's the question.
Right, and that is the question, and we knew Paul would be able to help us with this. Currently, they get sponsorships that pay for like jerseys and funds like that that go into the programs.
They're not looking for sponsorships, it's trying to, they're selling space
Right,
for advertising.
yeah, so,
So I'll tell you what my strong negative opinions are. It's a no and no. Okay. Advertising in public space. Okay. The problem that you have is that it's a public space. And so who is it that would control the message? The answer is no one can control the message because it's public space. First Amendment would allow anyone to be able to come in with whatever message they wanted, and you would not be able to stop it. Okay? I can tell you, I had a lot of experience with this at DOT on Adelphi Highway. Okay? Probably the most difficult example we had was on Route 286 down in Seabrook, when the Foxy Lady Strip Club decided that they would adopt a section of highway on Route 286, and then they would have live radio when they went out to pick up the garbage. Okay? That gives you an example of how you can't control the content. But also, when you think of it down the next step, okay, where do we stop? Do we want our fire engines to look like they're NASCARs? Do we want to have our police officers look like a NASCAR driver's uniform? Okay, no, it's a very bad idea and a very bad precedent. Just last week, down at the Red Sox, they had a banner come over the top. Okay, racism is as American as baseball.
It did.
And that banner was able to be pulled in about 5 seconds because that's a private business. They can control content, they can control message. That banner could be out here and you couldn't touch it.
And a fan could bring a banner out just as they did in Fenway Park. I mean, it's not,
But I'm telling you,
we're not lettering fire trucks and police cars for NASCAR.
but I'm just saying,
Little league fields across the country are advertised.
with sponsors of teams, because that is
No.
the message. Well, I understand,
Not necessarily, Plainsfield and Portsmouth.
but I'm telling you, there's no way.
That's fine.
I'm not discussing this for 2 more seconds. There's no way that I
That's why I was bringing it up for discussion, to see what's
I
going on.
understand,
That's all.
but I'm telling you.
I'd like to
I'm
say.
hearing you, I hear you.
Now, I'd like to say this, it's about time. I think it's a good idea, I think it can be somewhat controlled, regulated. I see it up in Somersworth, I don't know what they're doing to control it, but it's very well controlled. The Little League ball field in Portsmouth, very well controlled, and that's publicly owned by City of Portsmouth.
Not by, you'll never have my vote to support that.
I'm not looking for votes, but I'm just saying, I'm gonna support it.
We're not asking.
I mean, the rec committee was.
What's your opinion on this? Is it,
Well,
does it go back in the relevant fund or not? That's the question we're asking. We're not asking you for your vote if we're gonna have advertising or not.
the way that
Where would the money go if, is the question?
Right, the way that our town primarily budgets facilities is the town through its budget takes care of facilities. The recreation revolving fund takes care of consumables. It takes care of referees, it takes care of, the uniforms, various other consumable items, but they don't generally pay for capital items at fields. They don't pay for field maintenance or recreation or
The fields aren't being maintained up to standard. That's the problem. There's not enough time for the crew that we have. That's a fact, and that's been discussed here before.
Well, right now, there's
So, I mean, if they're looking,
$60,000.
if the rec committee is looking to raise some money, to take care of the fields, I'm gonna back them 110%.
60 grand in that fund.
Yeah.
Okay? So isn't that there isn't enough money? There may not be enough time for our property maintenance supervisor to do the work, but it isn't any money shortage.
So we could subcontract it out and get the job done.
They could, if they want to, can have that considered to come out of the revolving fund to subcontract other jobs?
It can be considered, absolutely.
Sure.
So would this money go back into the revolving fund?
Well,
If
again,
it was,
because of the way we budgeted over a long period of time, my personal opinion would be no, but certainly the next budget could change that.
Yes.
Dennis Malloy. Question, did I hear in part of this that this was a warrant article? What was
Warrant
the-
article back in 2003, just to establish a special revenue fund.
Oh, okay,
So
so,
it just created the revolving fund.
okay, to create the, okay, so first, thank you. Second thing is, there is considerable, that the First Amendment stuff and controlling that message is a very important part of the conversation. However, if, in my opinion, the question I would be asking is, what is the revenue potential, and does it really make a difference in the revolving fund or wherever the money goes? Because I haven't seen or heard anything about a projection out for revenue or how that would be worked out, what the plan is to raise the money, who you're going to talk to. You can control who you talk to about this, and I think you would be able to accept or reject people or.
But it would have to be a content neutral.
Right, it still would have to be, right,
business naming only.
right, you'd have to set up a set of standards for what that message is. So now you're getting into some conversations about content. So 2 questions. What is that structure look like, the message about what the content is? And 2, how much money are we talking about here? That's my question.
Right, and that's a great question, and this is the first step of it. So, I mean, until I get, and I still don't know where this money would go. If the money would go back in, and I imagine the rec committee is gonna pursue this a little farther. If not, then they're probably not gonna, and it's done now. This was the first step. I represent them, I brought it to the board.
Now, when I was a kid, I believe the people that sponsored a team at Castle Field, it was our only field in Little League, whoever sponsored the team did have a sign at the field, that was their payment, you know, saying thank you for your sponsorship.
Yeah, and that's different because it was direct recognition of the sponsorship. It was not advertising by the general public.
But I think, I do remember signs out there.
My recommendation would be to talk to Portsmouth Little League, see what they have strict criteria, because I know Stone helped develop the criteria, the basically name of the company, and they're very limited what they can put out there on the sign. They actually regulate the color and the fonts.
My recommendation is you call the attorneys at the Municipal Association.
But I don't have any problem with going back to that evolving fund.
I do.
All right. Does anyone want to put a motion out here?
I'll make a motion.
Oh, for further, okay.
I'll make a motion. I move to authorize advertising on the fences of the town's recreation fields.
Is there a second? Okay.
I would go with that, but I want a little more information before I jump both feet in. Just see what they would do to control it. See what they could do to control it.
That's right. All right, well, in that case, would you like to table this till?
I move we hold off on the next meeting. That should give you time enough to come up with something.
Is there a second for that?
Can I second that?
Sure.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Chester, are they gonna be soft-sided signs, like banners, or?
I don't think we're gonna ever see any signs, so.
I'm just asking the
Cross that
question,
bridge when we get there.
were they looking at plywood or, you know, like a banner?
Solid gold, that's it.
All right,
Gold
nice.
leaf, everyone.
Gold leaf.
Most of them I've seen in ball fields, they're soft-sided, so they actually protect the players who run into the fence. If you saw Somersworth ball fields, they're big inlet, but the maintenance sometimes is tough.
All right. Any other new business? All right, let's do payroll manifest.
Okay, I have payroll manifest number 19 in the amount of $56,441.81. Move to approve.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye.
I have general fund accounts payable number 19 in the amount of $272,231.68. Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Move to hereby approve the attached manifest unpaid bills detailed as of September 21st, 2017, amount of $32.30. I spent the least.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. All right, at this time, I'm looking for a motion to enter into non-public session.
I move that we enter into non-public session at, what is that?
7:50?
10 of 8, yeah.
7:50. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Need a roll call.
Roll call?
Sanderson, yes.
Director, yes.
Ralston, yes.
Chip was a yes.
And based upon that, I'm turning off the recorder.